My business is not me. It can run without me. It can survive without me. It has to survive without you, and you need to survive without it.
Welcome to Life, Business, and Everything in Between, the podcast for small business owners, creatives, and entrepreneurs navigating the space between big dreams and everyday chaos. I am Leslie Shields, a longtime entrepreneur married to another crazy entrepreneur and raising a tiny human in the middle of it all. This show brings you real conversations, honest insights, and practical encouragement to help you keep going. Whether you're building a brand, pivoting through change, or just trying to lead yourself, well, you're in the right place. Let's get into it. Megan, I am so happy you're here. Welcome to the pod.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. So before we jump in, I always like to remind listeners that these conversations are real and we talk about business, but we also talk about life, and sometimes that gets messy, but that's kind of the point. That's why we're here, is to show the real stories of entrepreneurs, and not what I say is not the Instagram pretty, and get to know the journeys of the people who have done this and hopefully have some good experience shares for those out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I always feel like Instagram makes it so pretty, and people ask me like, "Oh, what do you like about owning your own business?" And I'm like, "It's the best thing I've ever done, but I don't recommend it to anybody."
Yeah. Best and hardest thing. Yeah. So Megan and I have known each other for years, probably somewhere between 8 and 10 years.
Probably 9 years, I think. Yeah.
Yep. So, I was good. Look at my guess. And I've had the opportunity to watch you grow your business, and in a very thoughtful way, in a way that has evolved, and in a way that I've gotten a sliver of the journey and some of it. And you're also about to step into an entirely new season of being an entrepreneur. Yes. You want to tell us about that new season?
Yeah. So here in probably about 3 weeks, I am going to learn how to balance being a mother with being an entrepreneur. Yeah. I've been spending a lot of time trying to get my business ready to step aside and be able to take some time to have not real maternity leave, because I'm a business owner and we can't ever really fully step away from our business, but at least dial down the number of hours that I'm working and try to figure that out. And I know, Leslie, I would love any advice you have, because you did it during open enrollment, I think during the pandemic.
Yeah.
At the same time, I have no idea how you survived that.
Yeah, it was rough. Yeah, it was rough. And I'm so excited for this journey of your entrepreneurial career too, because it changes who you are. It changes how you grow your business. It changes how you interact with your business. And I think for those who tap into it as a superpower, it changes things in remarkable ways. And so I can't wait to see this journey for you. So let's talk about that. I think that is something that business owners, especially solopreneurs, and you're not exactly solo, but you run the show and you lead the way and you talk to the clients on how you take a maternity leave while being that person. So why don't you tell us a little bit about how you've kind of set it up and structured and what you think is going to happen, and then I'll tell you what's really going to happen.
Well, I know what's going to happen is I have this big grand plan and everything's going to go to shit, because that's running a business, is we always do our planning sessions and we have these big grand plans, and then it never works out the way that I think it is after I spend all that time planning it. So I'm sure that that's going to be this. And people keep asking me, what are you going to do? What are your plans? And I'm like, survive. That is my goal, is just to survive. I am trying to go in and manage my expectations and be open-minded about what's going to happen. I did bring on a advertising manager to help manage my clients and the projects while I'm there, because like you said, I'm the one who does most of the strategy, and I enjoy doing the strategy. I like doing that high level stuff. I've got a great team who can implement what I direct them to do, but they need more guidance on, okay, this isn't working, or the troubleshooting part of it. And so I have a great new team member that I brought on. He's part-time right now. Once I go back and start selling more, I would love to bring him on full-time, because he's doing a great job. But having him there to be troubleshoot, be part of the strategy, and hopefully be able to do all of the things that I can't. So my hope is to maybe take a week or two off after I deliver and then start working, work my way up 10 hours a week, 20 hours a week. Running a business, you don't get maternity leave, but also you get flexibility.
Yeah.
So my friends who take off, they can take off, but then when they go back, they have to go back full time, 40
Time.
hours a week.
Mm-hmm.
And so you do, like, the downside is I'm not going to be able to completely disconnect, but I can control how I go back,
Mm-hmm.
and I can go back part time. We're going to hire a nanny who will start kind of a couple weeks after she's born. So I can, one, sleep, and then two, try to get a little bit of work done and be available for the problems that my team can't solve. And I've been working with my team, trying to give them more responsibility, coaching them, and then also doing something that I think all business owners do is we tend to be a bottleneck on approvals and things because we want things done our way. So I've been trying to step out of the way so I'm less of a bottleneck and saying, hey, y'all have this. It may not be exactly the way that I want it to be. It may not be perfect, but y'all are going to do a great job, and I need to put the trust in you so that I'm less of a bottleneck. So there's good things for my business that I hope will come out of this long term, like removing me from some of those things that I did kind of setting up to prepare for maternity leave.
And I think that those changes for me were not only what got me out of the way, but taught me how to delegate and allowed me to scale in a
Yeah.
way that I don't know that I would have been able to scale unless I was forced into that position. And then also getting into the first, year of baby's life, you're a business owner, you get to be flexible. You don't want to be working all the time and you're tired and your brain doesn't work as well as it used to. So having that ability and the structure built for you in order to delegate to your team changes you as a business owner. And for me, in a really good way, that took us to a much larger scale quicker than I think I would have ever been able to get there on my own. But let's do something real quick. Let's tell people what you do. Let's tell them about
Oh,
your
yeah.
business. Yeah, we got into the really juicy stuff right away because I'm so excited to talk about it. But let's tell them who you are, what you do, and what your business does.
Yeah, so I'm Megan Bond. I own Panther City Marketing. We do digital marketing largely for local businesses. So that's our emphasis. I like working directly with the business owners. So, like, owner-led businesses. I've worked with billion-dollar companies before. I absolutely hated it. I was doing a website for, multinational billion-dollar company, and we finished it. And we're like, okay, who does this go to for approvals next? And they're like, we don't know. And it just stalled for months because they didn't know, like, who went next on the approval process. Whereas, like, me and my clients, I have conversations directly with the owner. If something's going on, I can call them up. I'm like, hey, we're seeing this problem. I recommend that we pivot this way. They say yes, we pivot. It's great. It's done in 10 minutes. So I love working with kind of the, couple $1 million businesses where I can work directly with the owner or a small leadership team to make those decisions. Primarily what we do for them is going to be website design and redesign, and then lead generation. Primarily with lead generation, we're going to be doing search engine optimization. So getting found on Google, also making sure you get found on AI. I had another inbound call yesterday and I asked how he found us and he said ChatGPT. And I'm like, okay, something like it's
Yeah.
people are finding businesses that way. And then we also do Google advertisements, and then social media advertising is the large bulk of what we do for our clients. Within that, within the lead generation spoke, once the leads come in, I also work with the clients to nurture those leads so that they can turn into customers. When I first started, like back when I first met you, Leslie, I was like, okay, here you go, client, here's some leads, walk away. I did my job. You've got those leads. Goodbye. And I learned very quickly that a lot of businesses, they think they have a marketing problem. Their real problem is sales. And so they do need help with that sales part of it. So as far down the marketing and sales funnel as I can get the lead and can help them with, the better it is. So helping them with the marketing, the lead generation process, but then also making sure that they do have those systems and processes in place. Because a marketing campaign will fail if you get a lead, you call them once and leave a voicemail, which happens a lot. Like, you just paid all that money for that lead. You need to call, you need to follow up, you need to nurture them. People don't answer unknown numbers these days. So it's a lot of lead generation and then lead nurturing as
It was
well.
literally the conversation that happened over coffee in my kitchen this morning because we have implemented some automations in Go High Level for lead generation and lead follow up. And we've just rolled it all out. And looking at what was formulated, I was like, oh, wait, no, that's not the first step. Oh, crap, that's not the first step. And so we're having to go back. And that realization in itself brought out exactly what you were talking about, is that there is some disconnect in our sales process.
Mm-hmm.
And how to go, okay, wait, I'm really glad we found this at the beginning and we didn't spend a whole lot of money before we realized that we had a problem somewhere else, and being able to take that and pivot immediately so that all that time and money going into the automations and the follow-up and the lead gen actually produces closes.
Yeah. And that's something that I've seen across all company sizes, that you need that consistent messaging, that consistent flow. Like, from the marketing standpoint, a common problem that I see is people will run an ad that says something and then they take them to a page that says something slightly different, and there's a disconnect. And so you need to have that same messaging from your ad to your landing page to your follow up to your sales conversation to your sales staff. So that they know what to expect and you're selling the same point. Because if you start selling in one thing and in the marketing, and you end up trying to sell them something else on the sales call, your close rate's going to be pretty low.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And we talk about what we realize is that our messaging is consultative, but that the first email that went to them was asking for their data to run quotes.
Yeah.
Like, no. I just shook the whole computer. I'm not having an earthquake. I am having expressive emotions with my computer and hitting the desk. Yeah. So we were like, oh, crap. Okay, wait, reset, refocus. Let's, work on this. But yeah, it's so the things that start to happen when you're scaling, and like the season you're going into and hiring people and handing off stuff, these are, as a business owner, where you start checking in differently, right? Mm-hmm. So what you find in the delegation process is you've delegated, but then how do you continue to, QC? How do you continue to quality control? How do you continue to verify that the messaging is there? How do you continue to check and make sure that it's how you want it to come across? And you're stepping into this season.
Yeah. That I don't have the answer to that. I don't know. Because I'm trying to, we'll use tasks and I try to check in on things. But then also I realize, when I give feedback, if the project's 80% done, if I give feedback and corrections, if it's 80% of the way there, then my team isn't going to feel as empowered to go finish it, and they're going to want to check in with me. So I don't know the answer, because I want to continue to be there to coach and mentor them and help them improve. But also I want them to know, hey, I've given you the power to do this. You don't have to check in with me and to let some things go. So I think that'll be something that I'll just have to figure out when the baby gets here.
I think one of the tools that we've used is daily huddles. Mm-hmm. And taking all of that communication that would have come to me all day long on our Teams or email or whatever, yeah, and saving that. So they're being, trained to write a list and take that list and get those answers from me during our huddle the next morning. And that way we're streamlining the communication, and you're not consistently having to be asked and then they wait, and asked and then they wait, or they feel like they have to ask you to move forward, which is not what you need or want. You want them to keep going, so that huddle the next morning, they can, okay, review with me yesterday. Where are you stuck? What do you need? what do you need? What do you have questions for me on? And then they can continue to go forward. That's
Yeah.
helped us a little bit. I was able to get 3 weeks of maternity leave, which I didn't think I was going to get, right? My team worked with our partners, like our external partners, in order, if they had questions, they took it to them first.
Yeah.
Where did they, and maybe that's like a tip or a trick, right? Is where's your team go first? What's the top five? They should go look for their answers first before coming to you with the question.
Yeah.
And they were able to leave me alone. Like the goal is to leave me alone as much as possible. Who's going to answer your questions when you're trying to leave me alone?
Yeah.
And that helps.
Yeah, it's probably more chat GPT, but it used to be like, don't come talk to me until you've Googled it and tried to find the answer. Because if I can Google it and if it's right there, then we've got a problem because you need to go try to find those answers on your own first before coming to me. ChatGPT, I haven't told them to use ChatGPT because it can make stuff up and not be accurate. So I guess that's an AI thing. I'm trying to figure out how to work with the team too, and that's part of like the QA part is making sure that they're not relying too heavily on AI because it'll be inaccurate or not as good. So helping them to, okay, how do we use this as a tool rather than rely on it?
Because you guys are building content, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And if I read one more post, even my own, I'm like, oh, guys, eek, stop it. You gotta, like, we're even constantly working through ours. It's got to sound not like AI wrote it because I think we're all getting so sick and exhausted of reading through a social and it's AI, AI, AI. And you can tell, you can 1000% tell, especially now that we're all used to it, right? I think even a year or so ago, we were like, oh gosh, that's great content. Wow. And now they all look the same.
Yeah.
And I mean, one, we're not taking it in anymore. And it's also getting to the point where it's almost disgusting. I'm just like, oh, I can't handle it.
Well, in like applying critical thinking, so AI tends to give you the same thing over and over and over again. So, like, I have a company and it's a fence company. So, a big part of their demographic is dog owners, right? Who needs a fence? People with dogs. You can't let it have holes. It's important to have a good fence when you have a dog. And so we try to do a lot of dog related content, like spring's coming up. What are some of the best patios to bring your dog to in DFW, etc. And then I got, a content calendar for the month and we do like 10 posts for this client. And I think 8 of them were dog related. And I'm like, no, 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 no. Like AI went, oh, you like dog posts? Okay, here's all of the dog posts. And I'm like, no, okay, we also need kids. We also need to talk about fences. We need to talk about other things. And so AI will funnel you into the same thing. And I see it too I do social media posts for a mattress company in a mom's group. And I wanted it to write a spring break post. And for like 3 weeks, all it wanted to do was write spring break posts. I'm like, no, we're past that. We're done. We've been there. We've done that.
Yes.
That was a one-time thing. Stop writing spring break posts.
And I feel like I yell at my chat, like I yell at my kid. I'm like, what? Told you 1,000 times, that's not the name of the podcast. Like, never say that again. How many times do I have to tell you to not use hyphens?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's having to tell it over and over and over again. And maybe that's it. Maybe there's a way to set that rule and it's a user problem on my part, but I do think it locks in and things that it finds that you like, it just gives you the same thing over and over and over again.
It does. It really does.
Yeah. It's too much. Absolutely. So when you do your marketing and your agency really focuses in on data.
Yeah.
And that drives a lot of your strategy. Let's take a moment to thank the sponsor of this episode, the Shields Agency. At the Shields Agency, we help small business owners navigate health insurance and employee benefits. Whether you're building a strategy for your team or refining what you already have in place, our focus is making it simple, clear, and aligned with both your business and your life. All right, let's get back to life, business, and everything in between. Talk to us about how you guys use data with your clients.
Yeah, so a lot of it is just looking at like who's responding, what's working, what's not working. Algorithms in marketing has changed a lot since I first started. And so a lot of the advertising is much less reliant on us as the advertisers to pick our demographics and allowing us to put together ads and then allow the algorithm to pick the demographic. So more and more we're restricted on who we can advertise to, which means we need to have ads that talk to who we think our target market is, but then also running the ads of like, hey, this is who we are, this is our unique selling proposition, and then looking and seeing who is responding to it. And then also monitoring, when are they responding, and then looking at the data to tell us, because we can come up with a hypothesis, but then our hypothesis might be incorrect, and we need to look at those numbers to say, oh, this is wrong. And then that too, like you mentioned, high level, we use high level, I love it, to track all the way down to, okay, maybe we're getting a bunch of quotes from our dog ad, but then the people aren't purchasing. And so what are we doing? Okay, we're getting leads, but those leads aren't converting. So looking at lead quality is a really big thing that we focus on now, because I can get you a bunch of really cheap leads, but it doesn't mean that they're going to convert. So looking at the lead quality and then back tracing that back up, and coming up with a new hypothesis and looking like, so going back to that fence company, we were running an offer ad where it was get 50% off of your walk gate. But then we were looking at it. No one was actually claiming the offer. And so then we're putting ourselves as a discount retailer. We're offering this discount, but then people aren't claiming it. So then we took that, we said, okay, what can we do instead? And so now we put together what we call the anti-offer, where we just talk about how we're so much better than the competition. This is why you should use us. And it goes against what your instinct is, but that campaign actually brings in higher quality, lower cost leads than our campaign that offered the discount. So looking at that and saying, hey, okay, we're running this offer. It's not working for some reason. How can we pivot? How can we change? What can we look at to do slightly differently? And then went against the grain and said, hey, we're not the cheapest, but we're going to be the best. We've got high quality workmanship. We've been around for 25 years. And then we came to that ad based on the data from another ad that was failing. So and it wasn't failing, but we were looking at it and saying, how can we improve? Okay, people aren't claiming this offer. So they're signing up, but then they don't actually claim the discount, which means they don't care, which means that maybe we should offer something else.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I want to remind people, part of the point and the love behind the podcast is, one, giving these kind of experiences and takeaways that you can use in your business, also to inspire you and to connect with the entrepreneurial journey. And so if this is resonating with you, be sure to like our podcast, share it, comment. We'd love to hear from you guys. And so I want to ask Megan, because we have known each other for like 9 years, starting as a baby business owner and being by yourself and then growing now 9 years in, 9 or 10 years in. I'm not sure when you first started the business.
Nine years. Yeah.
9 years. What are some of the moments and things that stuck out to you through that journey that may have changed who you were in your business, or something that deeply impacted you? That I always talk about how and this is probably when we were first officing together, many, many times was laying on the floor of my office crying because they're just like curled up trying to like balance my nervous system because I was so strung out on stress. What are some of those moments that stick out to you throughout your journey?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest one is, and your podcast solves this problem too, connecting with other business owners, because being a business owner is lonely. And I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs, and a lot of them come from entrepreneurial families, and I did not. So I didn't have that, family support. I didn't grow up in that environment. Like my dad was a doctor, my mom was a stay-at-home mom. So this entrepreneurial thing was completely different. But whenever I started connecting with other business owners like you, even if it's just to go to a wine house and drink a glass of wine and just complain and not actually like achieve anything, but just someone who gets it and understands it, I think helped a lot and really changed who I was and helped improve my mental health and made me feel less lonely. And I think that's why I love your podcast, because it shows like, hey, this is business, but this is life, and it's hard, and it's not Instagram perfect, and it's not sugar coated. Like there are problems and we have to deal with them, and we fail. Another huge thing was the Goldman Sachs 10K program, going through that. I really learned a lot more about my business. I got a degree in marketing, and that was a business degree. So I have a business degree in marketing, but it didn't teach me anything about how to run an agency. So like I understood the core principles of marketing, but it didn't teach me anything about how to actually run marketing. And I was taught amortization tables and accounting, but I had no clue. I still suck at bookkeeping. Like bookkeeping is the bane of my existence. So it's like the thing I hate most about running my own company. But it taught me more about how to understand my business and how to run my books. And so it's the learning, especially like peer learning and learning from other people who have been in it, is definitely the biggest thing that has changed me from my business, and being able to grow more and learn more. And then there's, the generic answer of the pandemic, which just changed everybody's business somehow. But I think, people is what changed it the most, whether it's going and meeting at a co-working space or going through a program together to learn more about our business, from other entrepreneurs or other experts. It's the people that have changed it the most, and made the biggest impact on me.
I found that the seasons of my life have changed. The seasons of my life have changed my business, right? So like, and Megan and I met. Chris and I were dating, and you were
Yeah.
single. You were super single
Yeah.
when we first met, and then I got so that was the one season, and there were a lot of happy hours and a lot of after hours business connections and a lot of hangovers. And then after I got married, that started to change a little bit. There was still that, but there was a little less of that. And then the pandemic hit, and I was super pregnant on my second wedding anniversary. And now I've got a 5-year-old. There are very few happy hours and business after
Mhm.
hours and connections in my life, but in a way that has changed how I market, changed the businesses I go after, and for the better, right? Like I wasn't getting necessarily the bigger groups and the bigger business by going to these after hours. That wasn't where the business owners were. And so
Mhm.
as I started to grow out of that season, I remember having a conversation with somebody who was in sales, and she was super freaked out about having her baby, and her boss was really mad at her, just to be honest, because she was in this sales role. And I was like, it looks different. And just because it looks different doesn't mean it's bad. And in fact, for me, it has been really, really good. It's
Yeah.
allowed me to look inwards and then to do evaluations to take our business where I want it to go, not just what's
Mhm.
easy, right? And you actually have to look at what works when you have a baby and a business.
Yeah, I know. I can't, gosh, I don't know the last time I went to a networking happy hour, and I think I used to go to 2 or 3 a week. And it was good for my baby business because I met with other baby businesses and I met connections there. And then now it's more friends, and I did build, like, people have heard of my business, they know who I am. So it was good for that. But then yeah, I did the same thing, got married, started trying for kids, and then, now I'll sometimes go to some breakfasts, but that's going to be out of the question when there's a baby and my husband's going to work, and, that's just not going to happen. And so you do change and you do evolve. But one of the things like I looked at for the business happy hours, and it sounds like this is what you did too, is like I looked at my time on the ROI, and they were good and it was great. Like when I was single and I had the time and, I'm not doing anything in the evening anyways, it didn't matter. But then now I'm married and I live further out. And so it's like, okay, that time is valuable because that's the time for my husband. And so if I don't, you know, get at least a few strong leads from a happy hour, then it's a waste of my time versus I can look at, okay, now I'm more willing, my business makes more money. I'm more willing to run advertisements, pay for those leads to come to me, and then go ahead and skip straight to that sales call rather than having to go through the networking and the happy hour and the referrals. So it's, yeah, a different era of the business. Because when I started my business with $1,000 to buy a laptop, and that was it. Because I couldn't start it on the side like most people did. I worked in finance, and so you have to get outside business activities approved, and I knew they wouldn't approve it. So I just had to quit my job and jump and figure it out. And it was very scary. And so back then it's like I had the time, but I didn't have the money. So happy hours were great. And then now it's like I have the money, business is doing better, and then my time is more valuable. So you grow and you go through those different eras of your business.
So outside of time, what feels important to protect as you move into this new season?
I think mental health is a big one. Firing clients who aren't a good fit, letting them go, and then even like not taking on clients when I know they're not going to be a good fit either. I've done it long enough, and when I had a sales guy for a short amount of time, and it was very hard. I don't know how to articulate this, and I couldn't figure out how to teach it to him because I think it was just experience. But like I can tell within the first 5 minutes of a sales call whether this is a good fit or not, just by talking to someone. And so just not pursuing that and saying, no, thank you. I don't think this is a good fit. Here's a referral for someone else or something. But having that, because one bad client can stress you out so much. And that's something like preparing for the baby to come. I've stopped taking on new clients because I'm like, I have good clients. I have a good relationship with them. And I know like if something goes south while I'm on maternity leave, I have a storied relationship with them. We've been working together for years most of the time. And so they're going to be understanding and they know that that's not typical. Versus if I took on a new client today and then I go on maternity leave and then something happens, they don't have that history with us as a firm to know that this isn't standard for us. And so it's not going to be a good experience for either one of us.
So I want our listeners to hear what Megan and I said. We have given you permission to not take on bad clients and to fire verbally abusive clients.
Yes. Or even just frustrating. They don't even have to be verbally abusive, but like if you want, I had a client ask for a daily update and I'm like, no, you are
No.
not getting a daily update. So he's not getting fired, but like setting boundaries, like it's very important and you can't just acquiesce and know, like it's not everything is going to be a fit. And that was hard in the beginning because I would get really hurt when clients would leave. And now I know like sometimes just they need to move in another direction. Sometimes it's not a fit. Don't take it personally.
Yeah. So I like to give takeaways. I think we've given some really good ones. But in your expert opinion, what does marketing look like if a small business owner could do one thing in their marketing, what would be that piece of information you could give them?
Make sure you map marketing to sales. I know I kind of harped on this before, but that is the number one reason that I see marketing fail is that the sales process isn't in place and you don't have everything ready to go. So a lot of times people just go, oh, we don't have enough leads. That's why we're not doing well. But you have to look at everything, marketing and sales together and make sure that they speak together and they work together. Because if you're bringing in the leads, but you're not closing them or you're not nurturing them, then you're wasting money. So you want to make sure that you have that foundation built before you go spend thousands of dollars on a marketing campaign.
Huge. And if you could give them one piece of advice as a business owner and takeaway in terms of protect their mental health or something they can do to take care of themselves as a business owner, what would that be?
So mine, I started doing this year one. Is I will go on a vacation, go on a cruise, don't get the Wi-Fi package, go international, don't have Wi-Fi, completely disconnect for at least a week. And that was important to me, not just for mental health, but also to know I am running a business. My business is not me. It can run without me. It can survive without me. And that's something like if you want to be able to sell your business, it has to be able to exist and thrive without you there. And so most business owners, a lot of times we like to be in charge. That's why we run our own business. But just taking away my ability to be there and knowing my team, and this will be maternity leave too. I guess that's my quote unquote vacation this year, but just completely disconnecting. Don't get the Wi-Fi package. Don't check your phone. You can't get text. It has to survive without you, and you need to survive without it, and just be able to completely disconnect and let go for at least a week.
And that actually increases the value of your business.
Yes.
It
Yeah.
makes you worth more money when you can actually do that. And that's the thing that actually Chris, my husband, told me. He's like, the fact that you have moments in your day that you don't know what to do with that time, that makes your business more valuable. That means everything's being taken care of by somebody else. And that's where you want to be.
Yeah. Even if you have 2 dozen employees, if your business can't run without you, it's not a business, in my opinion.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. Yay. Yeah, I love that. Okay. We like to end with some rapid fire questions. You ready? Don't think too
All
much
right.
about it. 1 to 2 word answers. What's the number one thing in your business you always keep an eye on?
Profitability.
Coffee or something stronger at the end of the day? Or
Oh
neither right
gosh.
now. Neither right now.
I'm pregnant, so I can't have either.
I can't have either. Tool or platform you think is underrated?
I don't know that it's underrated, but you mentioned go high level and like bang for your buck, running a business, definitely that.
Something small that makes a big difference in your day.
Support from my husband. That was a huge like change in your era and your business. Having that support. Yeah.
Best advice you've ever been given?
Oh gosh. Um, I don't know that it's advice, but the quote like I put on the intake was action expresses priorities. And that's from Indigo Yoga shirt, which I love, but I think that that's so true because we'll say something and I'm like, unless you're doing it, then it's not a priority. You can
I
say it
love
all you
that.
want. You gotta do
Do
it.
you know John Cornelson, who owns Indigo? I
No.
do. I'll make sure to share the pod with him. I love that. Yeah, fantastic. All right, Megan, where can people find you, connect with you, or learn more about what you're building?
Yeah, my website has tons of information about us, panthercitydigitalmarketing.com. You can follow us everywhere else. It's just Panther City Marketing on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, or email me at megan@panthercitydigitalmarketing.com. I'm happy to chat with anybody, even if it's just like this or advice, let's get together.
This conversation felt like such a good reminder that business doesn't happen in a vacuum. Life shifts, priority changes, and with it, so does your business. And not in bad ways, in good ways. I think they can be really, really scary with changes happening. But those of us, and again, kind of the point of the pod is sharing the journey. And when you can go through things, hearing others talk about the other side of shifts and the really good changes that came out of that is, to me, really helps calm my anxiety in the business. And if this episode gave you something to think about or something you can apply in your own business, share it with somebody else who's building. And as always, thanks for being here, and we'll see you guys next time.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Thank you for tuning in to Life, Business, and Everything in Between. If today's episode gave you something to think about or made you feel less alone in the hustle, we'd love it if you follow the show and share it with a friend. Real stories, real talk, and just enough chaos to keep it interesting. We'll see you next time.